Welcome back, V.O.C. YouTube channel, College Football Edition, Week 7. Didn't forget the week, just coming off. You can see from the title of the video, this week will determine the playoff. This week is the biggest college football week of the year so far. It's one of those pivotal weeks that we've had so many shitty games, and all these games, you're like, oh my gosh, just like, where are these good games at? Boom, this one comes and just punches us right in the mouth and says, hey, bitch, we're here, we're ready to go. So let's jump into it. When you have great games that just come out of nowhere and just plop you right in the face, I don't think we know how to handle it. We're excited about this week, but we haven't talked about it like we're excited about this week. God damn it, we're excited. This week is huge. Big games. Hopefully with the expanded playoff, more games like this happen. We will hopefully see these kind of games where not just big conference games, but we see these big non-conference games where teams play each other. To say, look, Alabama, we'll play the USC regular season. Michigan, we'll play the Georgia, which they probably won't, but we'll play that big game because that's what we need. This week is just huge. I'm so excited about it. It's one of those weeks where it's like you live for as a college football fan, and it's one of those where so many games going on, so much riding on these games that I think that's what's kind of getting overlooked with these huge conference games. Look, you have number 5 Michigan versus Penn State, and I'll go through my picks in these games a little bit later. But you have that game. That's a big game. Alabama at Tennessee, 3 versus 6. Oklahoma State at TCU, 8 versus 13. Number 7 USC at number 20 Utah. Those 4 games right there are going to tell you who's in the playoff. Because Michigan beats Penn State, I think they have a great shot at making the playoff after that. Because they can beat Penn State, then I'm like, they can beat Ohio State. If Bama beats Tennessee or if Tennessee beats Bama, boom. It's the same thing with Penn State. Vice versa, whatever happens, they could make the playoff. If Bama beats Tennessee, then they can coast the rest of this year and lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game. They're still in. Oklahoma State, they knock off this TCU team. We could see them in the playoff. USC, if they beat Utah, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to win the rest of their games this season. They could be in the playoff. These games are huge. Very, very huge. If Michigan wins, Bama wins, Oklahoma State wins, USC wins, there is a legitimate way that all 4 of those teams make the playoff because of how it shakes out and what they do for their season moving forward. That is just how important these games are. I don't think people are looking at them that way, but Week 7 right now could determine the playoff. It just really could. All right, I haven't talked about Heisman, but I think it's time to talk about Heisman. These are some of the guys in the conversation and their stats. C.J. Stroud at Ohio State, 1,737 passing yards, 24 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Blake Corum at Michigan, 735 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns. Max Duggan at TCU, 1,305 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. DJU at Clemson, 1,462 yards, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Caleb Williams at USC, 1,590 yards, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson at UCLA. If you don't know him, go watch him. Kid might be one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated player in college football. Plays for UCLA, their quarterback. 1,510 yards, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Hendon Hooker at Tennessee, who is another player who is very underrated. Quarterback, 1,432 yards, 10 touchdowns, 0 picks. If I had to say 1, 2, 3 right now, C.J. Stroud's 1. It's like his numbers are just, you look at them and they're just way better than everybody else's. Like, I didn't think he had that many touchdowns. You look at the stats, 24 touchdowns, you're like, holy shit. And then I go with Hendon Hooker at Tennessee because without him, Tennessee's nowhere in this class. He is just so good. And then I go with Max Duggan at TCU because without him, TCU is nothing. And that's why this is how we have to look at this stuff. How valuable and how important are these players to these teams? Without Duggan, without Hooker, TCU, Tennessee, they're nowhere near this level of success. They both have big. If they both knock off who they're playing, TCU and Oklahoma State and Tennessee and Alabama, you could make an argument 1 and 2 right there for Heisman. But I think right now it's clear C.J. Stroud, and I think it's clear that Ryan Day wants C.J. Stroud to win it the way that they play and the way they do shit, because it is just like, get this guy yards, get this guy touchdowns. All right, picks this week. 5-2 last week, 29-14 on the season. Doing very well. I can pick college like taking candy from a baby. It's easy for me. I just feel it. So let's jump on. First game. Big game. You can't really call it the game of the week because really, what is the game of the week? There's so many great games. Number 10, Penn State, 5-0. At number 5, Michigan, 6-0. Michigan is a 7-point favorite. When I look at this game, this is one of those games where it's like, what's Michigan going to be like? Are they going to play, again, great against a good opponent? I think Penn State's obvious. They're the best team that they've played up to this point. I think Penn State can win this game if the quarterback, Sean Clifford, does not fuck it up. If he messes this game up, they don't have a shot. But I just think deep down inside, I just think this is a game Penn State wins. They have 2 great running backs. They can control the tempo. Michigan likes doing that. You flip that against Michigan, it makes Michigan play different. Penn State's defense is very underrated, especially their back half. I like Penn State to win this game, and people are going to look at me and go, just because you hate Michigan. No. I think Penn State is legitimately a team that can beat Michigan. I said before the year I really liked Penn State, and I don't know. There's just a feeling. Now, would I be shocked if Michigan wins? No, but I'll be the guy that picks Penn State this week. All right, this is a big game on the West in the Big Ten. Minnesota, 4-1, minus 6.5-point favorite at number 24, Illinois, 5-1. I like Minnesota in this game, and Illinois had a great year, but I think Minnesota is the best team in the West, and I think that they're going to start churning out some wins here and start moving up the rankings a little bit, and people are going to go, Minnesota's pretty good. Number 3, Alabama, 6-0, 7-point favorite at number 6, Tennessee, who is 5-0. This is probably the biggest game in Tennessee in probably since they won the national title with T. Martin. That was 98? Some people are saying it's the biggest game since Peyton played there. That was 97-ish, 98. 99 is when Tennessee won with T. Martin. This is the biggest game since then. So 20-some years. This is one of those games where you feel like Tennessee, but then you have to remember, oh, wait, no, it's still Alabama. If Bryce Young plays for Alabama, Alabama wins this game. That's what I'm going with. I think Alabama beats Tennessee. It's close. Tennessee's going to come fired up. The fans are going to come fired up. Big, big game. I just think Alabama has the experience over them in these type of games, and I think that they will win it. Number 8, Oklahoma State, 5-0 at number 13, TCU. TCU is a 4-point favorite. This is easy for me, Oklahoma State. You give me them as the underdog, I'm going to pick them all day. I think they're better. I like their coach. I just think they're a better team. You give me them as an underdog, I'm not even going to sit here and talk about it too long. That's who wins it. Number 15, NC State, 5-1 at number 18, Syracuse, 5-0. Syracuse is a 3.5-point favorite. Yet again, this is another game. I think you're giving me the better team as the dog, so I'm going to go with NC State to win this one. Arkansas, 3-3 at BYU, 4-2, not 42. 4-2, they're coming off the loss to Notre Dame. This is an even line. This is an interesting game. And why'd you pick this game? I liked it. It was spicy for a mid-season game. I think BYU bounces back from the Notre Dame loss, and I think they win. LSU, 4-2 at Florida, 4-2. Florida, it's a 2.5-point favorite. I like this game a lot. I think it's a very interesting game. It's a very compelling game. It's usually a very close game. Brian Kelly coming off the loss last week to Tennessee was his worst home loss in the history of his career. They're going to lose again this week against the Florida Gators. I can't pick Brian Kelly. Number 16, Mississippi State was 5-1. 4-point favorite at number 22, Kentucky was 4-2. I like Kentucky in this game. I really do. Now, I picked Kentucky a couple weeks ago, and they gave me a terrible ride against Lane Kiffin. It was not very fun to watch. But I like Kentucky at home. You give me a dog at home, I'm going to take it. All right, on to the last game. A lot of games this week because they're that big. Number 7 USC 6-0 at number 20 Utah 4-2. Utah's a 3.5-point favorite. Utah lost last week to UCLA at UCLA. Utah's a good team, not as good as people thought they were going to be. They play USC. If you would have told me if Utah beats UCLA last week, I say I would go Utah in this game. But I like USC. And it's not the trendy pick. It's not the pick everybody's going to look at and say, man, I'd make that. USC's not as tough as Utah. I don't think it matters. USC's more talented than Utah. We saw how that impacted the game last week. You give me the more talented quarterback, look who won the game. UCLA did because they had the more talented quarterback. Give me USC's quarterback, Caleb Williams, with his playmakers, and Lincoln Riley. I think they win that game. It's going to be close. It's going to be a slugfest, but I think it's going to show a lot about USC. I like USC. So that's going to do it. This week is huge. We cannot understate it. Biggest week we've seen so far this year. Games are big. Have fun watching them because it's going to be electric. It's going to be awesome. Thanks for watching.